Her mother died of cancer in the fall, and by the following spring, Emma barely recognized her own life. That was when her tuxedo cat, Salem, started doing something she couldn't explain, pressing his nose against the exact same spot on her side, every single night, over and over, refusing to stop no matter how many times she pushed him away. At first, she thought it was grief, hers or his, some strange way of coping that would pass on its own. It did not pass. It got worse. Salem began pawing at that same spot through her shirt, gently at first, then more insistently, until some nights he would not settle anywhere else on the couch except pressed directly against that one place on her ribs. Emma had no idea that the cat curled against her side had noticed something no doctor, no mirror, and no routine checkup ever had. Emma was 29 years old, a graphic designer who had spent the last 2 years of her 20s watching her mother disappear a little more with every round of chemotherapy. Her mother, Linda, had been diagnosed with breast cancer at 59, caught late, already advanced by the time a persistent cough sent her to a doctor who finally ordered the right scans. Linda fought for 18 months through surgeries, chemotherapy, and a brief remission that made the relapse crueler still. Emma drove her to every appointment she could, sat beside every hospital bed, held her hand through every scan result that came back worse than the last. Linda passed away on a rainy October morning with Emma still holding her hand, the same hand that had held hers through every skinned knee and broken heart of her childhood. The months after were a blur Emma still struggles to describe. She went back to work because there were bills to pay, but she stopped answering calls from friends, stopped going to the gym she used to love, stopped doing almost anything that used to make her feel like herself. The only constant in her apartment was Salem, a black and white tuxedo cat she had adopted years earlier during a much happier chapter of her life. He had always been affectionate, but never clingy, content to nap nearby rather than directly on top of her. That changed almost overnight after Linda's funeral. Salem started sleeping pressed against Emma's side every night instead of at the foot of the bed, where he always used to curl up. Within a few weeks, the sleeping position had narrowed into something oddly specific. He wasn't just cuddling close anymore, he was fixated on one exact spot, just below her left collarbone, near the edge of her ribs, nudging it with his nose, pawing at it gently through her clothes, sometimes resting his head directly against it and staying completely still, as if he were listening for something. Emma's best friend joked that Salem had simply become a grief cat, extra clingy because he could sense how sad she was. Emma believed that explanation for a while, mostly because it was easier than the alternative. But grief cats do not usually target one specific inch of a person's body with that kind of precision, night after night for weeks without fail. She started noticing it happened even when she felt perfectly fine, even on days she managed to laugh again, even when nothing about her mood seemed to explain it. One night in December, Salem's behavior crossed into something Emma could no longer brush off. He pawed at that spot so persistently that he woke her twice, meowing directly into her face each time she tried to shift away from him, refusing to be settled or soothed the way he normally responded to a gentle scratch behind the ears. I know, you still haven't hit subscribe, and that genuinely stings a little. If Salem's story is getting to you already, go ahead and subscribe now, because what happens next is the whole reason I'm telling you this. The next morning, still rattled, Emma pressed her own fingers against the spot Salem had been so focused on, mostly just to see what was there. She felt something small, barely noticeable, easy to have missed entirely if she hadn't known exactly where to press. A tiny, hard lump just beneath the surface, small enough that she almost convinced herself she was imagining it out of anxiety alone. She thought about her mother's diagnosis, about how a cough that seemed like nothing had turned into 18 months of fighting for her life. She thought about how many times Linda had told her, near the end, to never wait on anything that felt even slightly wrong in her own body. Emma called her doctor that same afternoon and got an appointment for the following week, mostly to prove to herself that she was overreacting. The doctor did not think she was overreacting. An ultrasound was ordered immediately, followed by a biopsy less than a week later. Emma sat in the waiting room alone, Salem's carrier sitting oddly at her feet because she hadn't been able to leave him alone in the apartment that morning without him crying at the door. The results came back 3 days after that. It was cancer, the same kind that had taken her mother, but caught at a stage so early that her oncologist used the word treatable within the first minute of the conversation, a word Emma had never once heard used about her mother's diagnosis. The tumor was small, contained, and located in a place that made treatment options significantly better than anything Linda had ever faced. Emma underwent surgery in January, followed by a short, manageable course of targeted treatment. Her doctors told her more than once that early detection had made all the difference in the world, the kind of difference measured not in months, but in decades of a life still ahead of her. Emma still cannot fully explain how Salem knew. Her doctors couldn't either, though one mentioned almost in passing that trained medical detection cats and dogs have been documented picking up on certain cancers through scent, long before any scan could, a skill science still doesn't fully understand. Salem was never trained for anything. He was just a cat who loved her, sleeping a little too close, pawing a little too insistently, refusing to make one particular Tuesday night pass without making his point. After the surgery, Salem's behavior changed again, this time back to normal. He returned to sleeping at the foot of the bed within a matter of weeks, content and unbothered, as if whatever job he had been doing was finally finished. Emma still catches him glancing toward that side of her body sometimes, just briefly, before settling back down as if nothing ever happened. Her mother never got the early appointment, the small tumor, the word treatable. Linda's cancer was found only after it had already taken so much of the choice out of her hands. And Emma has spent countless nights wondering how different those 18 months might have looked with just a few more months of warning. Salem gave Emma exactly what her mother never had, and neither of them will ever fully understand why. Sometimes the people we lose leave us more aware, more alert to the quiet signs we used to miss entirely, and sometimes that awareness finds its way to us through the most unexpected place. A cat who cannot speak, cannot explain, and simply refuses to stop until somebody finally listens. Emma still thinks about her mother every single day. But now, when she does, she also thinks about a persistent tuxedo cat who somehow turned her worst fear into a second chance nobody expected her to get. If Emma and Salem's story stayed with you, there's another one just as unforgettable waiting for you next. It's about Diane, a widow who adopted a half-blind tabby cat named Luna from a shelter nobody else wanted her from, and spent an entire year giving her medicated eye drops every single day, not knowing if her sight would ever return at all. What happened exactly 1 year later, the moment Luna finally looked up and truly saw her for the first time, is a story that will stay with you just as long as this one did. It's ready for you right now.